Welcome to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast.
Every week, they talk about the Vancouver Canucks with a fair amount of nonsense thrown in.
Sure, they're never the first with the news, nor the best connected, and definitely more off the rails than on.
But they've been talking puck the longest, and that counts for something, right?
So strap in for the longest running, best mediocre Canucks Hockey Podcast.
It's C4 with Chris and Anna.
Hello, Anna. Hello, Craig.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Craig. We're back.
Yeah, formal again, as you told me I was last week.
Good morrow. Good Ian. Craig.
Yeah. It's Monday night we're recording. You're probably listening this on Tuesday. Day late because the Golden family has an issue with trying to fight things with their heads.
Yeah.
I tried to fight a wall. My daughter tried to fight the monkey bars.
Yeah, someone else in concussion protocol in the Golden family. So.
Well, okay. She doesn't have a concussion.
No, and she doesn't. I'm being flippant. This she doesn't.
No. But the thing about this is the way my wife described her, like she was on the monkey bar, slipped, head went crack on like the metal bar, and like seeing the goose egg that developed as a result. I don't know how she didn't have one. Like, I mean, she's got like when she was born, her head was like in the 99th percentile, like. And so, like, all the clothes that would fit her, the problem was we needed to get the ones where they had like the unbuttoned back to get over her head. So maybe that's it.
Yeah, maybe. I had a climbing frame fall on my head when I was 7 or 8. I did not get concussion, and I had a pretty deep cut on the back of my head. So, and I have a large head also. So maybe there is something to it. We're not scientists, though.
No.
To be very clear.
No, we're not. But we do read the internet, which qualifies as right.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about the Vancouver Canucks week that was. The Vancouver Goldeneyes, they did what we asked them to do, kinda. I mean, in fairness, we got it right. We wanted a little bit more, but we conceded it was going to be a tough ask. Mm-hmm. So I mean, all in all, it was a really good week for both of our teams.
Yeah. I mean, Canucks are really leading the race, like we say.
They locked it in. They went into Calgary, one of those silly 4-point games, and gosh darn it, they made sure to get no points.
Absolutely.
Give Calgary all 4 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Calgary got 2 points, but it's a 4-point game. We'll talk a little bit about the week that will be for both. We'll talk about some other stuff going on in the world of the Canucks sort of world. There's some, you'd think a team that's having the season they're having would not go out of their way to generate other bad news.
Yeah, they seem to be I would say a magnet for bad news, but that kind of implies they're not doing anything active, but really they are creating bad news wherever they go. So yeah, it's an interesting PR approach.
Yeah. And then, the Vancouver Canucks are playing the Goldeneyes tonight. That puck will drop probably when we wrap this show up or this episode up. So you'll be hearing about what we think, even though you can go online or have already observed the results in real time. Yes. But Tortorella back in business because the only way you know how to get the job done is you hire a coach for, what was it, an 8-game plus playoffs contract.
I mean, it's some Premier League stuff, right? Like, really losing patience with your manager, like with your coach, like 8 games to go seems a bit crazy to me. But yeah, they're giving it torts till end of season.
Yeah, I don't know if it's happened like this in the NHL before, where a playoff team this late in the season has made a coaching change as they have. And in turn hired the replacement as being essentially like I think it's 8 games and playoffs. Like if for some reason or another, Vegas goes 0-4 in the postseason. Torts was in business for 3 weeks, and there's no guarantee he's back in the fall. Like, I don't know why he necessarily would say, yeah,
Yeah,
this is a good
also
opportunity.
wonder what his contract is, because you would think he signed enough of a contract that if he does get canned in the off season, he'll get a reasonable payout, because he's leaving a pretty cushy job, presumably
Well, he was
from ESPN.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's weird. And it's not. I mean, yeah. Whether you think Tortorella should have another job as an NHL coach, he'd get one. He falls into the prototype of the coaches that will coach as long as I want to coach, save for something super duper stupid.
Which
and,
we
like, the bar
actually
for
can't guarantee won't happen in his torts he has previous, let's say.
Yeah. Anywho, without further ado, let's dive into Rewind. So the Vancouver Goldeneyes had a couple of games this week, both of which were on the road. Tuesday against the Boston Fleet. This was the game that you and I had suggested was going to be a hard-pressed battle, to say the least, for the Goldeneyes to find a result. And in fairness, credit to them, they, quite frankly, held on as long as they could. Problem is Boston's got a goaltender who's hot. Aaron Frankel, that's her 7th shutout of the season?
That was 6. She's had another since. So,
okay.
Yeah, I wondered if the frankly was a personal play on words from you about Aaron Frankel, but maybe not. Yeah, the Fleet are unsinkable with Frankel in net. She's just so good. Like, she's having an insane season. Boston, they're not a one-woman team by any means, but yeah, she's got to be their MVP.
Yeah. As I mentioned, the Goldeneyes did what they could. I mean, they arguably carried the play at points in the game. I mean, Laura Kluge got a goal about midway through the second, and Vancouver, didn't let that discourage them. One problem is they also had a couple of power plays in that second period and did absolutely diddly squish with them.
As they all
I'd
want
say
to
that's
do.
concerning, but sort of what we've come to expect. Like, special
That
teams,
is very much. Yep, the Goldeneyes.
not so special. And then that second goal, empty net. Like, you can't really fault the Goldeneyes with their effort. They did everything they could short of score a goal to make a game of it. So I look at it and genuinely, wonder is that, like, if the Goldeneyes do make the postseason, this is the team they'll likely face. All right, like Vancouver would be coming in that last spot, and Boston, I don't want to imagine they're going to mess around.
Yeah, they would. I'm sure they would pick Vancouver. I mean, looking at the standings, we don't want to get, like, never say never. We're not at the cutoff yet. But yeah, there's 3 teams that are pretty much set for the postseason, and Boston Fleet, the only official X marks the spot of securing their playoff berth. But yeah, it's one spot they're fighting for. The Goldeneyes would not be the favorite for that spot.
No. So unfortunately, didn't get the points there, but they did, however, roll into Toronto on Sunday night. Just before, or was it actually just before, in an early afternoon puck drop. For those that weren't paying attention, the Juno Awards were hosted in Hamilton, Ontario. For those that don't know what the Juno Awards are, they're the Canadian Music Awards. And Sarah Nurse happened to be there representing.
Yep.
Can I just say,
indeed.
She looks stunning.
Yes. What a dress.
I wish I could look as stunning as that. Not necessarily within the dress. I don't think I would look well in a dress, but like.
Yeah. It was cool. And it must be very cool for her to, 1, show up at a big national event, but 2, in her hometown. Alongside Renata Fast, right?
Yes.
Yes.
As as it was described, fresh off the ice, having played earlier in the day. Though,
Yeah.
those who might be following along say, "Oh, there's a lot of time in between." Well, if I recall, the Junos generally they aired at 8 p.m. Pacific, but I tend to believe they air a little bit earlier than that when they're recorded. Like I've been to the
Yeah.
Junos here when they're in Vancouver, and it was like a 3:00 in the afternoon start. Because again, if they're going to air them live out east, they're not starting late.
And also, there's no way they air them live. There must be at least some delay.
Yeah, so there's possibly a turnaround.
Yeah.
But that said, less Junos, more Toronto, Vancouver. Did you see who was net on Sunday?
Yeah, it is the return of the long-lost Emmerich Smashmeyer, which, Goldeneyes have been very cagey about her injury since Olympics, but yes, Campbell has obviously started every single game since the Olympics. Smashmeyer finally returns, and showed up well.
The Goldeneyes and Toronto Scepters really had a back-and-forth game in the first two periods. Trading goals in somewhat quick succession in a second. The thing about Vancouver, though, is they looked like a threat with 3 of 4 lines, arguably maybe even all 4.
Yes.
Whereas Toronto did not.
And honestly, we talked about it earlier on in the season, that Goldeneyes were way too dependent on their stars, and it's sort of becoming less and less true, and Toronto seem like they're still at that point, and I know Toronto is not a new team like Vancouver, but certainly in this game, and I think in general, it does seem to be that Turnbull, Darcy Watts, Darryl Watts, just seem to be and Natalie Spooner, of course, seem to be the be-all and end-all for Toronto a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Very much where Vancouver was when, the first game of the season, Sarah Nurse, the period without Sarah, they did seem like a
exactly
one-line team. Anna's favorite player, Manon McMahon, scored.
I'm starting to love her now. Just not that I didn't like her in the first place, but I am really enjoying the way she's played. Maybe she's going to be my jersey next year instead of Jen Gardner. I don't know.
Okay, so a little off the rails here. Are you a believer in player names on a fan's jersey?
Oh.
Are you the type of person who gets that?
So I think hockey jerseys look weird when they're blank.
Okay.
And I do have one blank one. But it's my kids fit one, so it's kind of okay. But football jerseys, I have a lot of blank Arsenal jerseys. I don't mind too much, especially because I've cursed a lot of players by.
Well, and that's sort of where I was going. Previous podcast host Canuck Claymo, if he got a jersey of a particular player, it was almost guaranteed that player was either at the deadline going to be traded or within a season find their way out of Vancouver. It was just a thing for a while. I don't necessarily believe in
comfortable with that jersey if the player leaves.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't really believe in the curse component, but for me, I feel that if I throw a player's name and number on the back of my jersey, I have sort of, come heck or high water, dialed into that particular player. A lot can happen. And that's
especially
where,
in hockey.
For me, I would be more likely, if I were to give a player name and number on a jersey, to get one of someone who no longer is a Canuck, but during their time as a Canuck, wore the jersey
but then
represented the team the way I would hope.
Especially if you want to go through the Canuck store, you have to make sure it's the correct era.
Yes. I'm not going to go and get modern era jersey and throw Harold Snap's
which
name
I wouldn't
on the back of
presume you would do. But I had the Canucks jersey before they took Vancouver off, and it was the year when Bo Horvat was the de facto but not official captain, and they wouldn't put a C on it. And it was just come on.
Oh, man. Blasphemy. Anyhow,
Anyway.
back to the Vancouver Goldeneyes. They are, I think it was, 6 points away from that 4th spot. Ottawa Charge are currently holding on to it. Toronto Scepters are in between. Unfortunately for Vancouver, Ottawa and Vancouver have the equal number of games played. Goldeneyes have a game in hand on the Scepters. You're right.
Yeah.
The first 3 haven't quite locked in, but they're locked. That 4th spot's the one that's in play. Vancouver has an outside chance. But so long as they have an outside chance, that is a chance. And I can concede, when the Vancouver Canucks once had an outside chance in September, I didn't believe that they were going to make the playoffs either. So I have faith in my Goldeneyes.
Very optimistic of you.
Yeah. Speaking of the Vancouver Canucks, they had a week of suck. I mean, like, that's sort of what we come to expect from them now. Like, it's not like that should be a shock to anyone. They played the Anaheim Ducks. They lost. They played the Los Angeles Kings. They lost. They went into Calgary. They just got smacked around something terrible. As far as the week goes, we talked about it last episode. The Canucks had one game where they lost, but it was an entertaining loss. And
Yeah.
the more I think about this, I think that's sort of what we should come to expect. As long as they're in it, there's some level of compete. I don't want them to play themselves out of a high draft pick. They won't, but let's,
And I will say, like,
curse ourselves here.
it is Anaheim, the game itself, super entertaining. Defense was purely optional. It was very end-to-end. It was exciting. But it's also, you're looking at a team like Anaheim that's super young and exciting. So the mistakes they make, it's kind of what you always talk about. It's like you think they can outscore their mistakes, and that's a fun brand of hockey to watch. Canucks are not at the point at all. So yeah, the game itself is interesting though.
And you can even say it was back and forth. Like, Jake gets the Canucks a first period lead. Brock ties it up going into the third. Doc ties it up, early in the third period, and then, it wasn't out of reach until the empty net goal, 5 seconds left. But even at that point, if you were a Canucks fan who's still engaged in the product you're looking on at the ice, you're like, yeah, I'm in it. They might pull a point or two out of this. Can't say the same about the game against the Kings. That was wrong. Like, it at one point I had made a comment that who will get to a shot total first? Will the Kings get to 40 shots before the Vancouver Canucks get to 15 in the game? Like, the shot tally was like 30 to like 32-10 or something like that, or 32-12 after 2 periods.
Yeah.
But the way the game was going, 3 shots from the Vancouver Canucks seemed really hard pressed to accomplish. Kings, however, came out in the third period on absolute cruise control. And even then, the Vancouver Canucks couldn't muster opportunity. Like, it wasn't a fun game.
No, and it's another game on home ice that has just had zero entertainment value for fans for the most part. I mean, maybe they were entertained by the fighting at the end. We had 2 young guys really showing they give an F.
Actually. Well, and on that note, 2 of those 3 guys squared up, in a practice prior to said game to practice their fighting.
Also, I will say that, like, just as a side note, like, Jeff Mallett, who started the fight in the first place pretty much and was indiscriminately swinging, I do hope that kind of player who contributes nothing but chaos is, like, getting fewer and far between in the game. Like, I really enjoy physical players, and, like, you could say, hey, what about Curtis Douglas? Sure. Like, there's just lots of players that are really putting up nothing on the score sheet apart from Pims, and especially the way they play.
They're great players to have in a Pim pool.
Yeah, exactly. if that is important in your fantasy league, go off. But yeah, I thought that was super lame, and I hope, but I don't expect player safety to come down on players like that.
No, because that's described as being a part of the game. Like it's players settling things on the ice. Like I agree. I'm not like I don't like the staged fights. Like to me, if there's going to be a fight in hockey, it should be an organic event that occurs within the context of the game. Hey, you took a run at our guy, so next face-off, you and I are going to dance. Don't like it. Hey, you legally hit a player.
Yeah, that one especially sucks.
Now that means you have to dance because you happen to make a good play. Like, I mean, that part, that drives me nuts. And I'm not like if it's a player who takes liberties with one of your players, your superstars or what have you, to me, there's sort of a context that pugilance could exist. I'm not against, the this for that within the within the game. And I know I'm treading lightly here because the tit for tat got a former Vancouver Canuck into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and there's just certain players that really don't care about how they conduct themselves on the ice physically, and I think they're dangerous. That's what I would say.
Now, the Vancouver Canucks lost this game against the Kings against 4-0. Kevin Lankinen was the second star.
No, I did think that.
The game is in Vancouver, so there is sort of a home ice advantage to the 3 stars.
Yeah.
But Kevin Lankinen made some pretty bright saves. Like he was called upon 38 times and stopped 34 of those shots. That
and
says
wasn't
a
in the
lot
net for
to
one
how,
of them. Like, yeah. I think the first period was especially dire and really should have been more than 1-0.
Yeah. Anyhow, Vancouver then hit the road, went into Calgary. I looked away, saw there was a goal scored, and was so confused. Why is it 2-0?
Yeah.
Like it was, I don't know which goal I actually saw. Was it the Coronado goal or was it the Farabee goal?
Because it was so... Okay. I was watching it in a dive bar in Victoria, just FYI, with literal peanuts on the floor. That kind of vibe, bras on the ceiling.
Yeah. Sorry, what's on the ceiling?
Bras.
Like, okay, can I ask, is there something as to which one is able to attach the bra to the ceiling? Because there are establishments like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, bars, like beams, that kind of thing. But yeah, I believe you should get, tit for tat, as it were. So I said, Also, I was wearing one of my favorite bras, so I wasn't going to give it up that easy.
But you didn't know you were going to this bar. Would you have, had you known, made an alternative clothing decision?
No, but I mean,
it's just, I can't. I don't wear one, so I can't.
Yeah.
Put one
but
up there.
Bras are expensive, man. But it was a fun vibe anyway. Less fun vibe.
No, I've never been to a place like this. I've just heard of them. The peanuts on the floor. I've been to bars like that. That is, I like that sort of vibe. Like it's, not too ostentatious. I've also been to the Canby, which, to be honest, there may have been peanuts on the floor at the Canby. But...
Yeah, honestly, like I like the ones that are more honest about it. Like this place, Canby is more like you don't know what you just stepped on.
No, but the thing about the Canby is like everyone who locally ever has talked about it knows about it, but they market themselves as being not what the locals know it to be.
Yeah. I always find that funny. I don't mind going there like on a summer afternoon outside, but yeah.
Get yourself a pint of Canby lager.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't drink any lager. Never mind Canby.
Well, no, but like the point, like the running joke, maybe it's not even a joke, is that Canby lager is simply all the leftovers poured back in, and
yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
That back out. The Vancouver
Okay.
Canucks lost 7-3. The Calgary Flames. Brock Besser had a goal, then Brock Besser didn't have a goal. Was that goaltender interference?
So, I mean, I watched that like 5 times before I realized like what happened, because and who was it that ran into Coronado to run into the goalie? I forget. But he came
I don't
from
know.
way out of frame, so I'm just like concentrated on where the goalie actually is. But then, I mean, he was in the paint, so that sure.
Yeah, and
I'm not mad about that. I'm not mad about that one. That's
yeah,
sure.
when I saw the replay, I'm like, yeah, that's goaltender interference. It's just the reason that you and I could wonder is just how inconsistent the league is. It was like our conversation was it last week where, when the puck hits a player's glove, does it constitute a hand pass or is it directly into the goal? Is that a problem? There's just so much inconsistency that
Especially
it
in
becomes
goalie
so
parents.
difficult. Goaltender interference. Like, how many times have you seen a goaltender in the paint get interfered with, and then they'll say, "Oh, well, no, that wasn't interference because of all of these strange, arcane reasons."
Yeah. They need to make a choice, and even if that is if the standard is they're in the crease, it's goaltender interference. Okay, like at least it's a standard. It's a harsh standard, but at least it's something.
Tolopilo playing his first game in about 6 years, for reasons that only Adam Foote can explain.
I think reasons
looked
of
rusty.
Adam Foote want job next year.
I mean, sure. You know what? Bring the tank commander back.
Yeah, I think it's honestly like it's just such. It's like, do you understand how development works, especially in goalies? I mean, clearly not, and that's why you have directors of goaltending, and we just haven't had a big enough character maybe in that position
Would
for a
you
while.
imagine if Mikey DiPietro was still in Vancouver with Adam Foote as coach? Like, DiPietro may not even dress based on the development of goaltenders here. But I'm being facetious when I say that, but it's just the string that they gave Lankinen, and he was asked after a game, like, "Oh, hey, was there any thought in giving a game to Tolo? Lankinen has lost the last 72." And his response, Lankinen's been playing pretty good. Won't be bad
his
forever.
Word salad that he dumped out at that answer. But yeah, I just think we're rock bottom of the NHL. We have a goalie that was pretty much rocking along, obviously had some setbacks, but you have your first choice goalie. Let's not forget that Thatcher Demko exists, except he doesn't really exist. He has been run into the ground more than once.
Was it ever actually declared that Thatcher Demko was shut down for the season?
That's a great question. If it was, I don't remember it.
Yeah, I don't recall
I think
either.
we just slowly accepted that he wouldn't return. And
I don't. For anyone who might be thinking I'm suggesting he should come back, no, I don't think he should. I think he should have been shut down. It was like, last year, he probably needed to have been shut down, and the Canucks kept trying to bring him back, regardless of what was ever going on with his Peter Piper Peck-to-Peck Pickle Bumpers muscle. So
exactly.
Anywho, I don't know what more to talk about. Curtis Douglas and is it Klatka or whatever? That was a good heavy weight tilt. Good on Curtis.
Very tall.
Yeah. But going in the week that will be, the Vancouver Canucks are taking on the Golden Knights tonight. They then head off to Denver to take on the Avs on Wednesday. Thursday, they're in Minnesota to take on Quinn Hughes in the Minnesota Wild. Back home in Vancouver to take on the Utah Mammoth Saturday, 4 p.m. puck drop, because anytime Utah's in town, you got to drop the puck early.
Yeah, what time? I mean, what's even the time difference with Utah? 1 hour? Or is it 2?
It's 1 or 2. But the point is that, we've now seen St. Louis get the early puck drop on a Saturday. Utah's getting it. These are times that were set at the start of the season. Like,
yeah. And like Utah one seems like a really exciting team and a really great growing market, but you have to think that it's a gate market rather than a TV market. I can't imagine that it's doing numbers.
I don't know.
Yeah, but who knows? How many points, Chris? I'm going to ask you
0.
first.
Zilch. Zippo. They're not
I also
getting
think
points out of Colorado. I think the Golden Knights are going to have a game.
showing up for their new coach, like that
Yeah.
is honestly my only question mark is the Golden Knights, how they're going to react like to the turmoil.
I think they'll.
But
I think they'll react. I think Quinn Hughes ain't gonna lose to his former team in Minnesota. And then when Utah rolls in, I mean, if there was a game where a point could be had, it would have been that. But Vancouver has a 4 p.m. Pacific puck drop in Vancouver. If the weather is nice, which it is possibly going to be, the crowd is going to be.
Plus, it's a long weekend.
Non-ish existence. Oh yeah, that's right. Long weekend, Easter long weekend. So yeah, Zippo. 0 points, none to be had. Sucks to be Vancouver Canucks. The Goldeneyes, on the other hand, they got a game against the Montreal Victoire on Wednesday. They then have a Saturday morning puck drop for us, afternoon, against the Minnesota Frost. I'm saying 4 points.
2 overtime wins.
That's right. 2-2.
I'm going to say 1 point. An overtime
So,
loss.
are you taking that point out of Montreal or Minnesota?
Minnesota. And
Okay.
I know Minnesota's still really good, but they match up pretty evenly in the home game, whereas Montreal have Poulin back.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to
okay.
that.
Your prediction is probably much more reasonable than mine.
But you're hopeful, and you haven't been tarnished by years of.
Yes, that's true. No, but I'm also looking ahead at the schedule. Like the fleet are in town for the Vancouver Goldeneyes, first game back, and that's going to be a tough one. Thankfully, they take the Seattle Torrent on in a back-to-back. But if you don't get these points out of Montreal and Minnesota, who you then play again, right? That's to me like I feel that they have to quite nearly run the table.
Yeah, they really do have to win at least one of these games, probably both, realistically. But yeah, I don't see them winning both for sure, and yeah, we'll see.
Anywho, we'll be back next week. Well, actually, no, it's Easter long, so we'll be back in 2 weeks' time because we take the weekends off when there's a holiday. We lazy like that. Speaking of being lazy, Anna and I are taking a break. You're listening to the C4 Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Anna, Chris, and Craig.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on it.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? And that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He didn't play. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
If you haven't caught the story, which honestly I would genuinely wonder how, considering the legs it currently possesses, the Vancouver Canucks as an organization withdrew the press credentials of one of the reporters that covers the game. Trevor Beggs, who happens to be a contributor to the Daily Hive, had his credentials to cover the Vancouver Canucks revoked. Now, revocation of credentials. Well, I was going to say revocation of credentials has occurred. It happens throughout the professional sports world. It's not the first time the Vancouver Canucks have revoked credentials, but the revocation, as you just mentioned, took place during the game. Now, why? Trevor suggests it has to do with his article discussing a trial taking place in the United States that involves the Aquilini's business interests. I don't know the specifics of the trial. From what little I have seen, the Aquilini family and their business aren't the ones who are directly on trial, but a partner that they work with happens to be at a farm where I guess there is a relationship. And what's been shared is in part of this trial, there's been allegations that workers have been provided poor working conditions. They've been prohibited from getting water, prohibited from using, washroom, restroom facilities. The housing accommodations have been substandard and potentially not to code. All of which have been allegations for the Aquilini's farming interests this side of the border. And again, everything is an allegation. It needs to be proven in a court of law, as it should be. Now, Trevor Beggs isn't the only person who wrote about this. I mean, Patrick Johnson from the Vancouver Province had written about it. I read PJ's article. I did not read Trevor's.
And now we cannot. It is no longer online.
And I was going to say, just, this is not a knock against Trevor. It's just I have a personal, opinion as it comes to the Daily Hive. I don't think any of our long-term listeners would be too confused as to what it is about, because I've talked about it before. And again, that's nothing to do with Trevor Beggs. This is well in the past, well before Trevor's time. But what's very, very unsettling is, one, the Canucks felt that was necessary during the course of a game. Like, again, who in their right mind in that organization thought that wouldn't generate news? Two, the fact that the Daily Hive removed the article. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are up in arms about that, but if the article itself was removed because legally it needed to be, then remove it. But to simply go radio silent themselves and in turn potentially discuss this as being them trying to get back on the good side of the Vancouver Canucks. I'm sorry, if you're a journalist or you're a media member, your goal should not be to get on the good side of those you are covering. You should be fair, you should be balanced, but you shouldn't be looking to curry favor.
And as well, like vice versa, Canucks should not be expecting universal praise or anything but like diligent journalism on the part of people that cover them. Obviously, Trevor Boggs' article, people are listing that the headline was maybe misleading it in some way. I can't speak to that. But I will say, like, you have to say that it's at the very least a huge overreaction on the part of the Canucks and has done the opposite of what they hoped would happen. Streisand effect. Here we are talking about it.
What had they hoped to happen? Like to send if it was to send a message?
I presume, and get the story to go away? I don't know.
Well, there's no way they could have thought the story goes away doing this. I genuinely think whomever made the call. Now, actually, I should walk that back. If whomever made the call wasn't looking at this rationally, which, again, who knows who made that call? Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. But there should be very smart people who know in making this call, you're going about it 7 ways wrong. Like the more appropriate, I think, way to have handled this is if what was ever disclosed in that article had real legal implications.
Yeah.
You hit the nail there first.
Yeah.
And then follow up. Not like, midway through the first period or whenever the heck it happened. PJ had talked about it in his article that he had written over the course of this weekend, and it's just so that listeners know. When you get press credentialed by any professional team, you're essentially agreeing that they can pull it at any point in time. It doesn't say at the end of the game or before a game or only on Tuesdays. They have the right to withdraw your credentials at any point for any reason. Sucks to be you. But then the team also acknowledges when they do this, they create a story. And, how you spin the story obviously comes into play. I don't know what they thought they were going to spin here. And that's, beyond everything else that had gone on over the course of the week leading up to this taking place over the weekend. It's been picked up by Awful Announcing, a North American, arguably international media platform that talks about primarily the context of Awful Announcing, but they're across the sports world. Big readership. You've seen, obviously, PJ write locally, but then from there, other national reporters and sports
it brought Gary Mason out of his cave to criticize the Canucks, which means that's a big deal.
Yeah, and Gary, I've talked about this in See Where This Is. Gary Mason, I grew to know him as a Vancouver sports reporter. He eventually left the Vancouver market, went to the Globe, essentially Toronto, started doing everything coverage, world and what have you. But he has suddenly, over the last year and a half, chimed in on the Vancouver Canucks of all, teams. And the thought is that potentially he's got a line to the family, or the family has a line to him. But you're right, for him to go and criticize, if that such a line exists, that's not good. I don't know how the Vancouver Canucks come out of this. They can't, I'll be honest, they can't give credentials back to Trevor Beggs at this point. It would do them worse disservice. And that's not to, I'm not trying to woe is the Canucks here.
No, but it's just, that kind of looks worse. The thing is, we're viewing it all in a context of how the Canucks as an organization have been acting as a whole, but especially with media. We kind of talked about the relationship, what the relationship is supposed to be between a hockey team and its media, and it should be respectful, but that distance should exist. I think Canucks have just, over the years, last few years especially, have just had this backwards idea that they're not supposed to receive any criticism. And then the relationship between Canucks organization and their fans should be one of Canucks essentially bending over backwards to keep their fans engaged, and that doesn't seem to be the case.
I genuinely believe this. I think the Vancouver Canucks have completely misread their position in the market. For the longest time, the Vancouver Canucks were it. I'm trying to think back to when in the professional sports space, they had a genuine concern over one of their compatriots. I don't want to say competitors, but in the sense of money being spent and sponsorships and what have you, they kind of are. Would have been quite some time ago when the BC Lions were having their heyday in the peak of the CFL. And that's a long time ago. And this is not a knock against the BC Lions, the Vancouver Whitecaps, the Vancouver Goldeneyes, but even when the Canucks had some dark times in the 90s, they were still considered to be the top, sports team in the market. Then they go on this stellar run in the early 2000s, another stellar run in the 2010s. And, at one point they had a wait list that was the envy of the league. I think the word was that the Vancouver Canucks could lose every single one of their season ticket holders, and the wait list would still be a full season long after they went and repopulated from it. That wait list no longer exists. So I think that gave the team a false sense of confidence that they have a they have carte blanche to do whatever they want. Like, we're going to talk about in a moment, they're increasing season ticket prices.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not too bent out of shape that they're looking to do this. There are costs that are increasing, but the problem is that the Vancouver Canucks ticket prices seem to be somewhat absurd comparative to the rest of the professional sports market.
And the product on the ice. I mean, they're not doing it across the board. I know I've heard that some people aren't scheduled to change. But yeah, just the idea that they think that they haven't made with this fan base. Like, I heard J-Pat, I think it was on Canucks Conversation last week, talking about the Canadians and basically how they did a survey where they were asking people after games, and this would have been a few years ago now, what the score was, and not everyone could tell them because that's not what you go to the Canadians baseball game for, right? But the Seas understand this. They put on a really good show. Obviously, they've had some success in recent years. They had Trey Yesavage. Is that how you say his name?
Yesavage.
I just want to make it more French, I think.
Actually, a lot of Blue Jays have found their way through Vancouver and into the big team. I mean, Guerrero was here. David Schneider was here. I mean, heck, the head coach, John Schneider, used to be the or manager. It was the manager here in Vancouver. But to your point, like on the Seas, like the Seas provide an entertaining product. Now, is the product simply the 9 guys that take their positions in the field or the 9 guys in the batting order? No, that's a nice thing to have, a good team and some exciting players, but they're a developmental team. If the player is that good, they're probably not going to be in a Seas jersey for very long.
Right.
So instead, they have to look at other avenues to keep people engaged. And I will admit, it's been some time since I've been to a Seas game, but my wife and I have talked about how we really need to get to one. My wife could care less about baseball. My daughter, she watches it. But I think she enjoys, when I watch it on TV, seeing all the ancillary stuff that's taking place at a baseball game. And that's something that they want to take part of. They're not going to leave knowing that the score was 10-6.
Yeah.
I might. But I'm also perfectly fine, watching the sushi races, having some, reasonably priced stadium food, being able to see my daughter enjoy the kids area and the dancing, groundskeepers. Like, to me, you're giving me so much fun. The Vancouver Canucks, like, your food is overpriced. There's a reason why Costco had to go and start looking for memberships, because that's how badly priced the food was in the barn. People went to Costco and bought them hot dogs, which was a loss leader. The number of marketing activations that exist. Like, I understand that's the nature of the business of sport, but they do so many marketing activations, and maybe one of them is some form of engaging experience. But what is it? It's a contest. It's a donut hole in a Tim Hortons cup. Like,
yeah. And honestly,
it
like,
be more than that.
Engagement entertainment, it's definitely gone up from where it was 10 years ago. But it's really, it really feels like it's plateaued. And not to mention the Crazy P is still there, where, and I will say this, that, like, he's not universally disliked among people in the arena, but it's usually people that go to one game and one game only that enjoy his antics. Season ticket holders as a whole, I'm pretty sure, do not enjoy him. So it's just like putting the emphasis away from the regular fans once again.
Yeah, I'm not a Crazy P stan. I've seen him at BC Lions games. I've seen him at Canucks games. I want to say that he got brought out to a Whitecaps match once, but that was a one and done mistake.
I can't imagine the Southsiders taking too kindly to him.
Well, that and the fact that, like, you think of the way soccer is, as you're watching the game, someone comes and just starts banging a drum and yelling, like, why?
Hockey has stoppages, and still he doesn't understand how those work, so I can't imagine.
Anyhow, I'm curious about all of your thoughts. Like, when you think about where the Vancouver Canucks are, how they approach the media situation with Trevor Beggs, the cost of the food, the increasing season ticket prices. I know a few of you have been going to games, you've been getting deals on the secondary market, but like even then, do you feel you're getting good value buying that ticket off the secondary market and going to the game, or is it just a matter you were in the building, you were at the game, and you can sort of say, yeah, I enjoyed it because I was there.
Yeah.
And that's a perfectly valid answer. I mean, I used to be that way. I'm not now, maybe because I'm an old cantankerous guy, but
Yeah. And also, I will say, like, I'm a Goldeneyes season ticket member, but yeah, even if I wasn't, it's another show in town. And I know a lot of people, especially people getting sick of hockey culture and who kind of put up with it because, that's what they knew. Canucks was what they had growing up. They're offered this alternative, which, again, is a growing sport, maybe is not at the NHL level. Of course not. Why would it be? But yeah,
the experience of that Goldeneyes game that I went to, the home opener, I know that's a little bit of a lightning in a bottle experience because it was the home opener.
Right.
But the experience and the vibe was significantly different than anything the Vancouver Canucks have provided over the past decade. And I've been to a handful of Canucks games over the last decade, some of which have been exciting games with an exciting team on the ice. The vibe is not what we saw with the Goldeneyes.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Goldeneyes know that.
Yeah.
Anywho, if you reach this point of the show, just a reminder, Anna and I are taking the Easter long weekend off. That means you'll have to go a couple of weeks without hearing our voices. It also means that when she and I get back together to record our next episode, the Canucks and the Goldeneyes will have had sort of decisions probably made for them in regards to where they exist in the standings. I mean, let's be honest, the Vancouver Canucks, I think, have locked up last overall. Congratulations. Takes a special team to do that. They are, and it's funny, you and I were talking about how they weren't officially eliminated last episode. Well, they got eliminated that night. So they finally had the E next to their team name. The Goldeneyes, I mean, I guess, if they do make a run and things go their way, it could be when we get back together, we're like, oh my goodness, are they going to be able to
love that to be the case.
Bring this back.
Why not?
But yeah, got final words of wisdom for our listeners this week, Anna.
Yeah, just should be an interesting week for both teams. Canucks are facing some old friends / foes in Torts and Hughes this week, so we'll see if that creates some interesting storylines, because we don't think that the interesting part is going to be the hockey that is played. But yeah, I would like to be more of your mindset and be super hopeful about the Goldeneyes and this road trip. So I'm going to try and do that.
My words of wisdom is words of wisdom that my daughter has not taken to heart. Should you have a heck of a shiner, it's perfectly fine to tell people when they ask how you got it that you happened to break up a fight between a bear and an elk when you were visiting your grandparents over the course of spring break. Perfectly valid answer.
I like that.
My daughter, however, feels that it's not fair to mislead or lie when someone asks the question that you should be truthful. And, bless her heart, I've raised a good kid, but her daddy, he likes himself a good story.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to support our show, best way to do it is to tell people about our podcast, help us spread the word, engage with us in C4 Discord and online. But if you have a few bucks in your pocket that you'd like to throw our way, doing so means that Anna and I can buy a couple of pints. Because if you go to buymeacoffee.com/C4 podcast, otherwise known as
Buy Me a Pint.
Money that you provide to us as a one-off donation goes directly into the pint fund. And at some point in time, Anna and I will get together. I say it each and every week. And each and every week we haven't yet gotten together, but we will. The weather is improving, and she and I are actually usually pretty good at getting together at least once over the course of the summer. Sometimes it happens to be at like Whitecaps matches when I ask you to come out with me, and you say yes because your plans have fallen through 6 other different ways, and I'm now number 7. Or we might find time on a patio. But if you want to support us financially on a recurring basis, either $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, doing that helps us keep the lights on, pays the bills, and any additional content we might create, we always make sure we get your way. On that note, our summer schedule our postseason or off-season schedule, however which way you want to look at it, because the Canucks won't be at it, and maybe the Goldeneyes, we don't know. That's why we can't really sort of make a declaration yet. Will be a little different than it has in the past. What will be guaranteed is if you happen to support us financially on a recurring basis, you'll get access to content that others will not during that period of time. So again, we'll share those details a little bit closer to the off season as things start to fall into place. If you want to engage with us online, social media at the C4 Podcast on X, the Real C4 Podcast on Threads, and C4Podcast.com on Blue Sky. We are A4603 and Lightforce, pretty much everywhere we happen to be online. And C4Podcast.com is where you can find our entire back catalog. So on behalf of our robot recorder, Craig, Anna, A4603, and myself, Chris, Lightforce, we out.